My beloved child. There is a truth that has remained buried for far longer than anyone ever imagined. Someone worked in complete silence, believing their secret would never be uncovered. But today, the walls protecting that secret have finally begun to crack. And the name hidden behind years of pain is slowly coming into the light. Do not leave now. Because this story changes everything. Listen carefully. Because this is not a story about chance. It is a story about choices, hidden motives, and the silent hands that changed two lives forever. Long before you and your soulmate were separated, there were dreams that should have become reality. There were promises that were never spoken aloud, yet both hearts somehow understood them. The future waiting for you was never ordinary. It was filled with moments that were meant to happen naturally, moments of laughter, healing, family, and a life built together. But someone looked at that future and decided they could not allow it to exist. At first, nothing seemed unusual. Small misunderstandings appeared without warning. Conversations became shorter. Messages arrived too late. Or never arrived at all. Every coincidence seemed harmless by itself. Yet when those moments are placed together, they form a pattern so carefully designed that it could never have happened by accident. Someone was quietly arranging every piece while making sure neither of you would ever suspect the truth. Your soulmate spent countless nights wondering why everything suddenly changed. They blamed themselves. They believed they had made mistakes they could no longer fix. At the very same time, you carried the same questions inside your own heart. Both of you suffered under the weight of answers that had been stolen before either of you even knew the questions. Don't skip. Because the next part explains why this secret survived for so many years. The person responsible never acted with loud anger. That would have exposed everything. Instead, they smiled in public, offered comforting words, and pretended to support both of you. Behind closed doors, however, they planted fear, doubt, and carefully crafted lies. One sentence whispered at exactly the right moment was enough to change a decision. One false warning was enough to create hesitation. One hidden conversation was enough to separate two people who were supposed to walk the same path. Years passed, and the truth remained locked away. Even those closest to your soulmate believed the false version of events because that was the only story they had ever been told. The real story was hidden beneath layers of silence. Every person who unknowingly repeated those lies helped strengthen the invisible wall between you and your soulmate. But secrets have a weakness. They demand constant protection. Every lie requires another lie. Every hidden action creates another loose end. Eventually, even the most careful mastermind leaves behind something they never intended anyone to find. Recently, something completely unexpected happened. It was not planned by anyone. A forgotten object, untouched for years, suddenly found its way back into the hands of someone who had no idea how valuable it truly was. At first glance, it seemed ordinary. Almost meaningless. But inside it was a detail that did not match the story everyone had believed for so long. That single detail forced one person to stop, read everything again, and ask a question nobody had dared to ask before. What if everything we believed about their separation was a lie? The room fell silent. No one answered. Because for the very first time, they realized the impossible might actually be true. And as another hidden piece of evidence was quietly brought into the light, one familiar name began appearing again and again. A name no one ever expected to question. The investigation had finally begun. And the person who secretly destroyed your future with your soulmate had no idea that their perfect mask was about to break. The silence that followed that question was heavier than anyone expected. No one rushed to deny it. No one confidently defended the old story anymore. For years, every member of the family had accepted the same version of events without asking where it had come from. Now, for the first time, tiny cracks were appearing in that carefully protected version of reality. Don't skip. Because this is where everything begins to change. The forgotten object was examined again, this time with greater care. Hidden between old papers was something that should never have survived, a small handwritten note. The writing was faded, but the meaning remained painfully clear. It mentioned a meeting that never happened. Not because either of you refused to come, but because someone had secretly made sure neither of you would ever receive the truth. Your soulmate stared at the note for several long moments. Their hands began to shake. Memories they had buried years ago suddenly returned with frightening clarity. They remembered waiting, believing you had chosen not to come. They remembered walking away with a broken heart, convinced they had been abandoned forever. But the note told a completely different story. It revealed that someone had intercepted messages, changed conversations, and quietly redirected decisions until both of you believed the other had simply stopped caring. The room became unbearably quiet. One family member whispered, "That can't be possible." Another slowly replied, "Then explain why none of us ever saw this before." No one had an answer. Your soulmate felt something they had not experienced in years, not hope, but guilt. The possibility that you had never betrayed them struck harder than any painful memory. Every lonely night, every unanswered question, every tear suddenly pointed toward someone else. They closed their eyes and replayed every important moment from the past. Every warning they had been given. Every suspicious conversation. Every unexpected cancellation. Every strange coincidence. One by one, those memories stopped looking like coincidences. They looked like a carefully planned operation. Someone had always arrived just before the truth could reach either of you. Someone always knew exactly what to say. Someone always pushed both of you a little farther apart. Don't skip. Because the next discovery shocked even the people who believed they already knew everything. While everyone focused on the handwritten note, another family member quietly opened an old storage box that had remained locked for years. Inside were photographs, envelopes, and forgotten keepsakes. Most meant nothing. Until one sealed envelope appeared. Across the front, written in unmistakable handwriting, were only a few words. "Give this to them only if the truth is ever discovered." The entire family froze. No one wanted to break the seal. Because deep inside, everyone sensed the same terrifying possibility. Whoever wrote that letter already knew there was someone secretly destroying the future you and your soulmate were meant to have. As your soulmate slowly reached for the envelope, another voice suddenly echoed from the doorway. "Don't open it." Everyone turned around. The very person who had always insisted the past should stay buried was now standing there. Pale, frightened, and desperately trying to stop the truth from coming out. No one moved. The person standing in the doorway had always appeared calm, reasonable, and protective. They had been the one everyone trusted whenever difficult decisions had to be made. But today, their face told a completely different story. Their confidence had disappeared, replaced by fear that could no longer be hidden. The sealed envelope remained untouched on the table. Every eye shifted between the envelope and the person begging everyone not to open it. Don't skip. Because the next few moments changed the entire family's understanding of the past. "Why are you trying to stop us?" someone finally asked. There was no immediate answer. Only silence. A silence that lasted just long enough for everyone to realize the truth was already beginning to expose itself. Your soulmate stepped forward. For years they had searched for answers. They had blamed fate, timing, distance, even themselves. But never, not even once, had they imagined that someone standing so close to the family could have been quietly shaping every decision from the shadows. Their voice was calm. "If there's nothing inside that envelope, then why are you afraid?" Again. No answer. The room suddenly felt smaller. The air became heavy. Even those who had defended this person for years slowly began stepping back. Finally, the envelope was opened. Inside was a folded letter. And beneath it, several old photographs that no one had ever seen before. The first photograph showed you and your soulmate smiling together on a day everyone believed had ended in disappointment. The second photograph revealed something even stranger. Standing only a few steps away, watching both of you, was the same person now standing at the doorway. No one had ever noticed them before. But now, they couldn't look away. Your soulmate unfolded the letter with trembling hands. The handwriting matched the note found earlier. Every word felt heavier than the last. The letter described how meetings had been cancelled without your knowledge. How messages had been intercepted before reaching their destination. And how false stories had been repeated so many times that they eventually became accepted as truth. It wasn't one lie. It was years of carefully planned deception. Every page exposed another hidden decision. Every paragraph revealed another stolen opportunity. The future that both of you believed had simply slipped away had actually been taken. Don't skip. Because the greatest shock had not yet arrived. As the final page was turned, one sentence caused every person in the room to stop breathing for a moment. The one who separated them never acted alone. The silence that followed was unbearable. If that sentence was true, then the person standing in the doorway wasn't the only one responsible. Someone else had helped. Someone the family still trusted. Someone who had smiled through every family gathering. Comforted your soulmate during the darkest moments. And secretly helped destroy the future you were always meant to share. Your soulmate slowly looked around the room. Every familiar face suddenly felt unfamiliar. And then, their eyes stopped on one person whose expression had changed completely. Without saying a single word, that person quietly lowered their head. Everyone instantly understood. The next confession was about to expose an even darker truth. The room became so quiet that every heartbeat seemed louder than the last. No one dared to speak. The person who had lowered their head refused to look anyone in the eyes. Every second of silence only made the truth feel heavier. For years, they had hidden behind kindness, sympathy, and carefully chosen words. Now, every memory the family had of them suddenly felt different. Don't skip. Because the confession you are about to hear changes everything. Your soulmate slowly stepped closer. I only want one thing, they said softly. The truth. For a long moment, nothing happened. Then, with trembling hands, the person reached into their pocket and placed a small, worn-out key on the table. I've carried this for years, they whispered. No one ever asked what it opened. The family looked at one another in confusion. An older relative suddenly gasped. I know that key. Everyone turned toward them. It belongs to the old wooden chest in the storage room. The one that was locked the week they were separated. Without wasting another second, everyone hurried toward the forgotten room. Dust covered every corner. The wooden chest sat exactly where it had been left years ago. When the key finally turned, the lock clicked open. Inside were dozens of old envelopes, printed messages, photographs, and a small digital recorder wrapped in faded cloth. Your soulmate carefully picked up the recorder. Their hands were shaking so badly that another family member had to press the play button. A familiar voice filled the room. I can't let them build a future together. The room froze. Everyone recognized the voice immediately. It belonged to the very person everyone had trusted most during those painful years. The recording continued. If they stay together, everything we've planned will fall apart. Make sure they never hear the truth. Delete every message. Change every meeting. And if necessary, make each of them believe the other walked away. No one could breathe. Every lie, every misunderstanding, every broken promise, every painful goodbye had been carefully manufactured. Tears rolled down your soulmate's face. For years, they believed you had chosen to leave. For years, they blamed themselves for losing the one future they truly wanted. But now, every painful memory had a different meaning. Every wound had a hidden cause. Every unanswered question finally had an answer. Don't skip. Because what happened next shocked even the person who had created this nightmare. As the recording ended, another envelope slipped out from beneath the recorder. Unlike the others, it had never been opened. Across the front, in bold handwriting, were the words, "Open only after the truth is finally exposed." Your soulmate slowly reached for the envelope. But before anyone could stop them, someone suddenly collapsed to the floor crying. Between uncontrollable tears, they repeated the same sentence over and over again. "I never wanted it to go this far. I was only following someone else's orders." The family stared in complete disbelief. Because that single sentence proved the mastermind behind your broken future still had not been revealed. The words echoed through the room. "I was only following someone else's orders." No one could believe what they had just heard. For years, everyone had searched for a reason. Now they realized they had been searching for the wrong person. The one who carried out the lies was never the one who created them. Don't skip. Because the final truth changes everything. Your soulmate slowly helped the crying person to their feet. There was no anger in their voice anymore. Only one question. Who started all of this? The room fell silent once again. Finally, a single name was spoken. The moment that name left their lips, several family members covered their mouths in shock. No one expected it. It was the person everyone believed had always wanted the best for both of you. The one who smiled during family gatherings. The one who comforted everyone whenever tears were shed. The one who quietly controlled every important decision without anyone questioning their motives. Years earlier, they had become afraid. Afraid that your soulmate's future would no longer remain under their control. Afraid that a life built on genuine love would change everything they had carefully planned. Instead of trusting destiny, they trusted manipulation. They created false conversations. They encouraged misunderstandings. They erased messages. They arranged meetings that neither of you would ever attend. And every time hope tried to find its way back, they quietly pushed both of you farther apart. The family could no longer defend them. Every piece of evidence matched. Every recording. Every letter. Every hidden note. Every forgotten photograph. Together, they revealed one heartbreaking truth. Your future had not been destroyed by fate. It had been stolen by deliberate choices. Your soulmate closed their eyes. For years, they believed losing you was unavoidable. Now they understood that love had never truly failed. Truth had simply been buried beneath fear and deception. Tears filled their eyes, but for the first time, they were not tears of regret alone. They were tears of freedom. The burden they had carried for so long finally began to disappear. One by one, family members apologized for believing lies they had never questioned. Some cried. Some remained speechless. Some admitted they should have listened to their hearts instead of rumors. The person responsible finally lowered their head. There were no excuses left. No explanation could return the years that had been lost. No apology could erase the pain both of you had endured. But truth has a power that lies never possess. The moment it is fully revealed, healing finally becomes possible. Your soulmate looked toward the horizon and whispered softly, "If our future was stolen once, I will never allow anyone to steal it again." And with those words, the story that had been written by deception finally came to an end. Not with revenge, not with hatred, but with the courage to face the truth, let go of the past, and leave the future in the hands of hope. Sometimes the greatest victory is not exposing the person who broke your future. It is refusing to let them control the rest of your life.